For decades now, I have been tracking how we argue, how we fight, how, for example, the Trumpists fight, and how we fight back. And I got all the insults down. I know all the ones that they use, and I know all the ones we use in response, and it's unimpressive. Our responses especially, they're really lame, and they're not working, and you probably feel that. You get some satisfaction out of spitting your insults or name-calling at them, but you also notice that it's not actually working. It's not actually working. These guys have inoculants against all of your insults and name-calling, and you got to try something else. So this is a video about that. How do you get into effective insulting and name-calling and shaming? Because we need it. If it's your civic duty to mature out of the name-calling and insulting you do, the first step in that is to recognize the need for it. Because Trumpists make a point of shaming you for shaming as if no one should ever shame. Do you see the hypocrisy in that? They accuse you of being a name-caller, which is name-calling. You gotta get over that. You gotta recognize that you come from a 3.8 billion year history of organisms tussling with each other, fighting for ground. The give and take of life involves that you be able to give a hard time sometimes. You have to be very careful about when you do that. You don't want to insult in the wrong place. You don't want to just insult for the self-satisfaction of it. You want to name call with surgical precision. You want to hit their vulnerable points. I think of the Trumpists as people who have disappeared into a suit of spiked armor. And the trick is to figure out how to get in there and either coax them out or poke them hard enough that they have to come out. So how do you do that? You study the masters. You study the really good insult comments. You study the roasters. You study the late night comedians. And you learn some of their tricks. You study to try to understand what they're doing and how they're doing it from an interesting position of self-effacing irony. They don't get on their high horse and talk the way the Trumpists do. When a Trumpist says you have Trump derangement syndrome, notice what a high horse they're claiming for themselves. They're talking like they are the presidents of the American Psychology Association 50 years from now, when we are very clear, or at least clearer than we are now, in diagnosis. So they're basically saying, you disagree with me, therefore you're mentally ill. And they're using derangement syndrome to make it sound official. Now you can call them a narcissist, which you've done, right? You could say that they're narcissists. And that also sounds kind of fancy, like you're a psychologist. Don't do that. Stand your ground comfortably. Get confident, a calm kind of confidence, where you relax into your position and just assume that you are making an interpretation of them and they are perfectly entitled to make an interpretation of you. But you can call it as you see it because you have what my dad called the courage of your own insignificance. You are not on your high horse. You don't even have to persuade them. You simply have to make your observation clear and surgical. Don't insult them about their policy. Don't moralize at them as if the universe is on your side. The universe is on no one's side, alas. It's too bad. I wish it was. On my side or on the side of goodness, I assume that the minimal meaning of life is to not end it, and especially human life, because it's really interesting. But I don't have the universe on my side in that. I don't get to claim that the universe agrees with me on that. I have to be persuasive, and part of that is carrots. That is, I reached out to people, try to connect to them, which you hear from all the specialists on narcissists, if you reach out to them. And sometimes it calls for sticks, not just carrots. You think about it. We live in a society that relies on sticks. We're a little ashamed of it, but when someone does something wrong, we send them to prison. Now you say, well, we only do that to protect society. No, we also are trying to teach people. We teach people through combinations of carrots and sticks. And we teach them without being the authorities. You are not the authority on what they are any more than they are the authority on you. You have to get over this fear of insulting people and study it. You have to get good at it for our civil society to survive. You have to be able to get into that tussle. It may not be your thing. There's a whole lot of people who are conflict averse, meaning that they'd rather just win outright, but they don't know what to do when they're in a fight. They start flailing. It's kind of like this, or as my son does it, it's like this. It's like this. Yeah, don't do that. Get skilled at it. Get grounded in your confidence and get comfortable with insulting people and be immune to them shaming you for shaming them, so as if no one should ever shame anyone. Develop some sophistication. It's your dirty civic duty. They say never fight with a pig, you'll just get dirty, and the pig likes it. Yes, notice that itself is an insult. It's calling someone a pig, which is a fine name, but it doesn't really mean much. Nor does calling someone an a-hole or an absolutist. They're immune to that. You got to figure out how to find that chink in their suit of armor and work your way into it and just poke them. Just poke them with a wink, knowing that it's your personal interpretation, that you're not the authority. If you do that, you are doing your civic duty. And if you're not doing that yet, then you're sitting on the side, self-satisfied in what I call scornography, which is their game. They're going to be better at scornography than you. That is the pornographic self-satisfaction that comes from scorn for others. Notice what happens when we insult people typically. The lame, intermediate or beginner's way of insulting people is to act like they have a trait you don't have. The fact that they have it and you don't like it proves you don't have it. I call that exempt by contempt. The more hatred I have for your immorality, the more it proves that I'm morally pure. Don't do that. That is first grade insult. You got to get more sophisticated than that if you want to do your civic duty. Try to come up with more precise names. I don't want to just be a name caller. I want to name call with surgical precision that really hits. And these are people who have simply landed on the assumption that if they label themselves as good and anybody who disagrees with them as bad, they are proven to be the ideal person. They're getting off on that. They're basically jerking off on that. So how are you going to deal with those people? That's a real challenge. But it's a challenge you got to take on if you want to survive the Trump era. So we have a study group that deals with exactly these questions: how to humbly humble or humiliate humans of any sort who will say and do anything to avoid human humility. We've been meeting for about 2 years now. It's wonderful. It's a conversation with people all over the country who are trying to get more effective in their engagement with people there's just no talking to. These are people who I think of them like exhibitionists. They sidle up as if they want a real conversation with you. And when they've got your attention, they open their trench coat and show off their stiff little self-confidence. And the way they do that, the reason why shy people would go to the trouble of doing that and feel confident doing that is because they've got an inoculation against anything you say or do. So no matter how you respond in predictable ways, they have a way to deflect it. They get to claim that they're the winner, and if they didn't win, it's because you're a loser. They have inoculations. That's the whole holy war scornographic thing that cults have been doing since the beginning of time. You know, I'm a holy warrior, no deed too dirty for me. I'm a saint. Anybody who disagrees with me is the devil. This is a very typical thing to find in humans. It's completely understandable. Life is really difficult for humans. We can imagine all sorts of things that would make us anxious, and then we can come up with ways to feel like legends in our own mind, all sorts of ways to boost our self-confidence. Some of it through competence, but a whole lot of it, we need more than that. We want an extra scooch of self-confidence. 'Cause what if tomorrow I'm in a situation where someone really challenges me? So I'm gonna gather up whatever self-confidence I can, and I'll do that through this kind of claim, the holy warrior claim. If I'm desperate enough, I'll fall for that stuff. Or if I'm education deprived, or if everybody in my culture is going for it, that's what cults do, is they become these basically absolutist cultures where they have a bunch of words, some of them generic, like I'm loving and you're unloving. I'm kind, you're unkind. Anybody who challenges my kindness is unkind. Some of them are generic, but some of them are proprietary. The generic ones, by the way, every cult and every person looking for self-confidence is likely to claim, I'm a loving person. I don't hate. I hate hate. I don't shame people. I shame on people who shame people. I'm open-minded. Anybody who doesn't agree with me is closed-minded. You see how we would use those generic terms? We can weaponize the positive terms too. Love is weaponized. We weaponize that word. I say I'm loving, and if you disagree with me or don't give me what I want, then you're unloving. Do you see how any loaded word can be turned that way? I'm inviting you to explore how you would get more sophisticated in the pursuit of better, more surgical, more effective insulting, shaming, embarrassing, humiliating. Oh, I know you don't want to be someone who would do that stuff because you're loving and you're caring and you're open and all that. No, I'm saying you got to get good at it. And that indulging in that sense that it's beneath you to do that is itself not helping you, not helping the world. You actually need some fangs. You need some claws. Not all the time. I'm not suggesting you do this everywhere. I'm suggesting you get way more selective about when you do it and way more surgical about how you do it. So I mentioned the study group. I'm going to come back to it. Please join us. We're some people who meet every Sunday morning at 9 o'clock. No, every other Sunday morning. We're some folks who from all over the country, all sorts of people. Blue collar, white collar, doesn't matter. None of that matters. Some are religious, some are not. None of that matters. What we're talking about together is how to be more effective in humbling or humiliating. See, they're both in there. Humans who will say and do anything to avoid human humility. And how to do that humbly is crucial to us. Not like we are the authorities, not like those Trumpies who claim to be the authorities on who's got Trump derangement syndrome. We're doing something different, and it is an exploration. It's a study group. I'm not impressed with my surgical insults yet, or my surgical beckonings. It's very hard work to get through to someone who will say and do anything to avoid human humility. I think it's the hardest problem we face. But at least put some attention into it and stop the glotaholic addiction to feeling like you've done your job by speaking truth to power or by representing morality at these other people. Don't moralize. Don't do that. It's not effective. They're tone deaf to it, and that's not where the debate really is about whether you're a shamer and they're not or any of that. It's how to shame, when to shame, where to shame, who to shame, all of that stuff. The study group studies that stuff together. We work from people's experience. These are mostly people who are dealing with Trumpy relatives or Trumpy friends or Trumpy coworkers. It's a great group. About 170 people have signed up for it. Less than that show up for a meeting on a Sunday morning. We might change the time at some point. But in the meantime, it's free. It's free. I don't try to upsell you. We're just exploring together what I consider to be humankind's biggest question. How do you humbly humble and or humiliate carrots and sticks humans who will say and do anything to avoid human humility? I don't take role. You show up when you want. You speak if you want. You can stay anonymous. I don't share the list with others. It's fun. And it's a great way to spend a Sunday morning if you're not going to church, or if you want to do something that feels like meaningful work. Because like I say, at least from my perspective, it's the biggest question we're dealing with. I spent 20 years working on climate change. And I actually think this is a bigger problem, because we can't begin to address problems as humongous as that one if we don't get better at nipping buttheads in the bud. We simply have to deal with that problem that comes with human nature. So I invite you to get in touch with me. Just email me and I will send you a note about how to get in touch with us. And you can check it out. Email me even if you're not sure you want to come. You'll have the option, okay? Thanks for watching this. I love to rant about this topic because I think it's really serious. Call me on it if you think I'm ranting from a high horse. I don't think I am, but I'd be the last to know if I were, because I'm a human being, and human beings don't necessarily always know what's going on with them. But I do feel passionately about this one. You've got to inoculate yourself against this sense that you should never shame, never insult, never hate, never name call. You gotta get way more surgically precise in it, or else you're just spouting cliches, spinning your wheels, and feeling a certain satisfaction from having done that, as if that's your civic duty. You got more to do. And again, great homework. Watch great insult comics. Not the ones who are talking from their high horse like Gutfeld or some of those others. The ones who get really good at humanizing us by recognizing our nature and picking and poking at the people who are screwing up with it. Like Stevie Wonder said, everybody's got a thing, but some don't know how to handle it. Here we're talking about how to handle it in ourselves, not getting on our high horses, and in others who have gotten on their high horse. Thanks for watching.